Hello students, welcome to my channel. Today I will discuss about chemical bonding. This is the second lesson of this topic. If you haven't watched my previous video, then I will share the link in the description box. You can go and watch the video. So let's start the lesson. In this video, I will discuss about the electrovalent compounds. Basically, I will discuss how these electrovalent compounds are formed. In my previous video, I have already told you that when there is transfer of electrons between atoms, then electrovalent compounds are formed. That means, let's consider two atoms, atom X and atom Y. Now, when there will be transfer of electrons between these two atoms, then electrovalent bond or ionic bond will form. Suppose if X gives out one electron, that means if X loses an electron, then this electron will be gained by Y. Okay, so out of these two atoms, one atom will lose electron and another atom will gain electron. In this condition, the bond that forms between these two atoms, that bond is known as electrovalent or ionic bond. And the compound that the both atoms will form, that compound is known as electrovalent or ionic compound. I think it's clear to you all. And generally it has been found the atom that loses the electron, that gives out the electron, that is a metal, and the atom that gains electron or accept electron, that is the non-metal. I have told you in my previous video that metals are those elements who actually loses electrons. Okay. And non-metals are those elements who gain electrons. Okay. There are two types of ions we know. One is cations, the positively charged, and another is anions, the negatively charged. So, metals, they lose electrons. They lose electrons and they become electropositive. They become cation. And non-metals, they gain electrons. They gain electrons and they become anions. That is negatively charged. Okay? Or electronegative. That's the basic difference between these two elements. Now, let's see the formation of electrovalent compounds with the help of few examples. I have taken 3 examples. These examples are very common in Icse. Often questions come from these examples. The question comes like, show the dot cross structure of these compounds. Dot cross structure, I will explain this. First example is sodium chloride. See, sodium and chloride. Okay. Now the atomic number of sodium is 11, 2, 8, 1. And the atomic number of chlorine is 17, 2, 8, 7. So, sodium in its outermost shell, that means valence shell, it contains 1 electron. And chlorine contains 7 electrons in its valence shell. And in the process of the formation of electrovalent compounds, only the electrons of the valence shell take part in the formation of this type of compounds or bonds, right? So sodium has only 1 electron in its valence shell. Let's represent that electron as a dot. And let's represent the electrons in case of chlorine in the form of cross. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Okay, that's why dot and cross. In one atom, we will represent electrons as dot form, and in another atom, we will represent electrons in cross form. That's why it is known as dot and cross structure. Okay. Now, sodium need to lose this electron so as to attain a stable electronic configuration, so as to complete the octet. Because sodium needs to attain the electronic configuration of its nearest noble gas, which is neon. Atomic number of neon is 10, that means 2, 8. So as to attain this electronic configuration, sodium needs to lose this particular electron. Okay. And if you look at chlorine, Chlorine has 7 electrons in its valence shell. Chlorine needs another electron. 7 plus 1 is 8 to complete its octet. To attain the electronic configuration of its nearest noble gas, that is argon, whose atomic number is 18, 288. So as to attain electronic configuration, a stable electronic configuration, sodium needs to give this electron, and what chlorine will do? Chlorine will accept this electron. So here sodium and chlorine, 7, right? So sodium will give this electron to chlorine, and the bond that will form is electrovalent bond or ionic bond. Now when sodium loses one electron, now it becomes a cation. Okay, because it is losing one electron, it becomes electropositive. Now sodium is like a metal, and chlorine, as it is accepting one electron from sodium, so now it's become anion or electronegative. So it is a non-metal. In this way, a bond forms between these two atoms, and the bond now forms as ionic or electrovalent bond. Clear? Now see the next example. It's of calcium oxide. Okay. Now what is the atomic number of calcium? It's 20. So the electronic configuration is 2, 8, 8, 2. And oxide, that means there will be oxygen. Atomic number of oxygen is 8. Okay. So electronic configuration is 2, 6. So calcium has 2 electrons in its valence shell, and oxygen has 6 electrons in its valence shell. Let's represent the electrons of calcium as dot and represent oxygen, the electrons present in oxygen, as cross. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 electrons are present in the valence shell of oxygen atom. Now, what happens in case of calcium oxide? The formula is CaO. See, so as to attain octet, or so as to attain a stable electronic configuration, calcium needs to lose these 2 electrons. Okay, calcium needs to give out these 2 electrons because its nearest noble gas is argon, whose electronic configuration is 288, and oxygen has 6 electrons in its valence shell. So 6 plus 2 is 8. If oxygen can gain 2 electrons, then it will be able to complete its octet. And the nearest noble gas of oxygen is neon, whose electronic configuration is 28. So as to attain a stable electronic configuration, calcium should lose these 2 electrons and oxygen should gain 2 more electrons, right? So what will happen? Calcium will lose these 2 electrons and oxygen will gain these 2 electrons from calcium, and they will form a bond between each other, and that bond that is forming is the electrovalent or ionic bond, because here one atom is giving out electrons and another atom is accepting those electrons. See, calcium, it gives out those 2 electrons, so now calcium becomes 2 positive, 2 plus. As it is giving out 2 electrons, so that's why it's 2 plus, Y plus. Now it is an electropositive. Why? Because it is losing electrons. That's why it is acting as a metal. And as it is giving out 2 electrons, that's why it is 2 plus. And on the other hand, oxygen, what it is accepting the 2 electrons. So the 2 electrons of calcium, and the 6 electrons that were already present in oxygen. So now oxygen is 2 minus. Why? Because it is accepting electrons, that way it is electronegative. As it is accepting 2 electrons, that way it is 2 minus. Okay, so it is now a non-metal as it is gaining electrons. Now the bond that forms between these 2 atoms, this is the ionic bond or electrovalent bond. That's how an electrovalent compound is formed. Clear? Now the last example is of magnesium chloride. Now magnesium, the atomic number of Magnesium is 12. It's 282. Okay, electronic configuration is 282. And chlorine, we know it's 17. That means 287. So chlorine has 7 electrons in its valence shell and magnesium has 2 electrons in its valence shell. Let's represent the electrons of magnesium as dot and the electrons of chlorine as cross. Okay, 5, 6 and 7. Now see what will happen. What is the formula of magnesium chloride? Formula of magnesium chloride is MgCl2. It's MgCl2. Okay, formula of magnesium chloride is MgCl2. That means here magnesium is present 1 in number and chlorine atom is present 2 in number. So how will we represent? See, we will write magnesium in the middle and we will write chlorine on both the sides of magnesium. One at the left and another at the right. Okay. Magnesium, we know it's 282. That means 2 electrons will be present in valence shell. So let's represent the electrons of magnesium as dots. We will write both the electrons on either side. One at the left and another at the right. And chlorine is 287. So 7 electrons will be present in its valence shell. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Again 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right. What will happen? See, magnesium, so as to attain octet, a stable electronic configuration, it needs to lose 2 electrons. These 2 electrons, it will lose just to attain octet 2, 8. Clear? And chlorine will have to gain 1 electron, right? 7 plus 1, 8. If it gain this electron, then it will complete its octet. If this chlorine gains this electron, then it will complete its octet, right? So what will happen? Magnesium will give this particular electron to this chlorine and this particular electron to this chlorine. That's how magnesium will lose 2 electrons and chlorine will gain 1 each of the electron from magnesium. Okay, see, so magnesium now becomes 2 plus. Why? Because it is donating 2 electrons to the 2 chlorine atoms. So as it is losing 2 electrons, that's why it is 2, and as it is losing, that's why it becomes electropositive or cation, that's why it's plus. It's a metal in this compound. And chlorine, what is doing? Chlorine is accepting this particular chlorine is accepting 1 electron from magnesium, and so it will be 1 minus. Why 1? Because it accepts only this particular electron from magnesium. Only one electron. That's why it's 1 minus. As it is gaining electron, that's why it's minus, electronegative. And same for this chlorine also. It is also gaining 1 electron from magnesium. That's why this is also 1 minus. Okay. These are the non-metals. These 2 chlorine atoms are non-metals. Whereas magnesium is positive, electropositive. That's why it's metal. So an ionic bond or electrovalent bond is formed in this way. Okay. I think the concept is clear. This is how you have to draw the dot cross structure. Often question comes from this portion in Icse. This portion is very important. So I think I have made myself clear. Now this is for this lesson. I will upload the next lesson of this topic very soon. Till then, stay tuned to my channel. And if you think my videos are informative and they are helpful, then please like and share my videos and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching the video.